What's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to actually take some time and talk about one of the techs that I'm going to be using at my job, and they're starting me off as a tester for the most part, kind of to get the feel for my actual role as well as the workflow, the team, all of that other stuff, and be able to contribute. The project that I'm joining is already for the most part, fairly built out, and they really just needed somebody to come in and help them out with testing so that they can basically focus more on the actual building of everything as they got it going. Excuse me. And so, um, they told me, hey, you're going to be using Cypress and a few other technologies and all that. And so I've never used Cypress before, so I decided I wanted to check it out. And it's actually pretty awesome. I got this project that's already open. It's just a very small project. I never actually finished it, but I like it. It's pretty cool. But if I go into the package.json, you'll see that I have Cypress somewhere installed over here. So there it is. So there's Cypress, and that's just an easy npm install. And from there, I also have the Cypress installed globally, so I could open it up like that. But essentially, you would just do like a Cypress open, and on your first run, it would create a file structure up here. Let me just close a lot of this out, maybe clean it up a bit. But it would open this file right here, and I've already ran a few things with it, so but it'll open up with a whole bunch of different files over here. The only one that I've had a chance to really mess with is just this integration, which is my actual test and all that. And it does come with some examples, which are really cool to look at. Um, and you can run this and see how everything goes. And this is pretty much just an example thing that they put together for you to let you know what Cypress can do. It's a little bit quick, so it's kind of hard to see what each one of them is doing it unless you stop it and like check each individual one. But it's still pretty great to be able to start off a project like that with an example. So I wanted to start off my own project and get it running and see what it does. And so I want to type in my own test over here. And then I will actually let me just go ahead and run it over here. I actually created a script as well because for some reason it wasn't working too well with this one. I tried it on the previous project and it worked fine. On this one, for some reason, it didn't want to, so I'm using npx in order to run it. So I created a script over here that's just Cypress npx Cypress open. So that's what I'm putting down over here. So we're gonna run that and see what happens. And it should open up the Cypress. I don't even know what you want to call it, but it's kind of like a little browser that opens up. Which I think it actually opens up in Chrome, but it takes a little bit. It's taken a lot of bit actually, a lot longer than I expected it to take. But here it goes. It's opening up on my other screen. So here we go. So it has all of the example files that are in that integration folder. I'm gonna close it. Actually, I'll run that so you guys could see what that looks like. Let's see, and let me just expand this out a little bit so we can run that. And nothing happened. Seems I have to run this. Okay, so let's run. Well, a whole lot of stuff was happening. I don't know. I think I broke it. There we go. Okay, so now we're running it. And there we go. It's going through the steps and doing a lot of cool things. So checking out all these actions that they wrote out over here, and this is from their example link up here. But you can see it's basically going through the flows and uh, typing things into the DOM and hitting focus on inputs and all of that other cool stuff, and basically running tests on all of those. So now that we did that one, we can run the one that I got over here, which doesn't have anything in it right now. So basically, it's probably going to just like not do anything. So yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. It's not doing anything. So I wanted to write some test over here using Cypress, and then we can kind of see how it looks as it's going through. And so I got this file that I made earlier. And just like any other test, we start off with this describe, and Cypress uses Mocha, so we could use some Mocha stuff on there, but it also comes with its own methods and stuff to help you out. So we're definitely going to take advantage of that. I did also run this on a small small site that it wasn't even a site, it was just a bunch of JavaScript code, very simple stuff that was like um, sum of numbers, multiply, subtract, things like that, like little simple functions. And what it did was it would run my test as long as I put it into the proper file inside of Cypress. As long as I put it in there, it would open it up and run it and everything, and run my test, which is really cool just to be able to see that. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is I'm using localhost, so I want to be able to verify that I'm visiting home. So I'm going to do a CI, and CI is basically their Cypress starter value over here. So you can see that it already gives me a few hints for things that I want to be able to type in. So if I have a button, I can grab it and then click it. This over here is like if you have a class that's called result, then it would find that class and then see if it contains this text over here. So really cool stuff. So I want to actually be using visit, and then here we go. So if I type in visit, then it gives me a bunch of examples over here that I can use. So in this case, I want to visit the localhost 3000. So the same thing that they have over here. So I'm just going to actually copy that and just steal it. And then you can do other things over here, such as creating an object with different methods for your post requests and all that, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to visit that right there. And then while I'm there, I want to check that something exists. So in this case, I want to check if it contains, and one of the texts that it should find is what will I find? With a question mark, which should be, let me just move this out of the way, and then move this out of the way, should be that H1 tag right there, or H2, I can't remember which one it was. And you didn't get to see that just because I was in the way, but basically over here it's visiting the site, it gets a 200, and then does it contain this? It does, and so that passes as well. So everything passed, so one test passed, nothing failed. Okay, so that happens, which is pretty cool. But what else can we do? So one thing that I want to do on the site that I do actually have built out on this is just a registration form. So I don't have it built out on the back end or any data collection or anything like that because this project is super early. And so I was just fleshing everything out. So I want to be able to kind of traverse that and click on the sign up button and then fill out a form. So if I actually go to my site over here, I have a sign up button up here, and then here's my form, and a bunch of stuff comes up. I have and this is kind of like a bootcamp tracker, so I plan on building this out further just to help people be able to keep track of their progress while they're getting ready to join their bootcamp and everything, and just help them get ready for it. But essentially, you would put your name, first name, last name, username, password, email, and then the name of your school, and then over here, whether you were accepted already, yes or no, and then we have a date picker over here, and then you would sign in. So those are all the things that I would need to be able to get through in order to verify whether or not somebody's ready to sign in. And so I want to start building that out over here. So the first thing, and I do have IDs on all of these inputs, so that's what I'm going to be using to grab. I haven't figured out how to use like React names yet or anything like that, so I'm just going to be going based on IDs for now. All right, so it traverses this, and if I wanted to write more tests, I could just start writing more its and all that. Which, if you don't know too much about testing, basically this describe block up here is kind of like a wave where you can say this describes the entire block, the entire space over here. So everything that I'm trying to do in this file could fit in there. And if I wanted to, I can nest more describes in it, such as if this was one particular set of operations that would kind of fall in line with each other. I could put another describe over here and fit all of these it statements inside of there. And I could also change out the it for test. That works as well. But as you can see over here, it runs with Mocha. But that works as well. So you don't have to use it. I just find that semantically it just makes more sense because it's kind of like saying it traverses the side of the register. If I wrote test, it would just be test traverses the side of it, and that just doesn't really sound right. But that's just on me. You can write it however you like. All right, so now we want to be able to see if it, and let me just go back. How do I make you go back? There we go. So now I just want to be able to see that I'm actually going to continue over here. I'm just going to see if that sign up button does exist there. So I'm going to say contains and then sign up. Now, this may not be the best way to do it all the time, just because if you're doing like a button or something like that, and you're checking for this text, you might find this text in multiple locations, such as like words like sign up. Like I could have it written down somewhere else, and it'll say sign up, and it might get confused by that and try to click both. So but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to keep it simple and just go like that and click on this button. So now this is going to run my testing. And it should find that sign up button and click it. And there we go. So now we're in the sign up area where I'd be able to do all of these things here. And I can even type on it and everything as well. And then from there, once we're in here, we want to check that we're in the right URL. So we can use this URL command over here. And if we hover over here, it says get the current URL of the page that is currently active. So with this, we're able to get the current URL, and then we can use should in order to check it. So we can say include, and then we should be in the, right here you can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but over here it says sign up. So that's basically what I want to go with. So it should include sign up. So if we save that and then give it a second to run, it takes a little bit, so it's not always the quickest thing in the world, but there it goes. We have an assert, which is what this should basically is, and it checks that we are on the sign up page, and over here it says to include sign up, which it does, and so it finds it, and we're golden there. And then after that, I want to start actually building out all of the actions where a user were to click on these input fields and start filling them out. So we're going to start getting through that. And so like I said, I have them all on IDs so that they're easier to grab. IDs are supposed to be unique. You don't have to make them that way, but it's just it would defeat the purpose of an ID if you did not make them unique. So I like to use them for testing as well as ARIA labels and stuff. I think those are great for testing as well. And so right now I'm grabbing the first two things that I'm getting is the first name and last name input. And the reason why I'm able to even do it this fast is because I have it written down. I have the what the names and stuff are written down. So don't think that I'm just a cyborg that remembers IDs all the time. Otherwise, I would have to keep going back and forth and just making sure that everything matches, and nobody really wants to watch that. So, but what I'm essentially doing, and I'll stop right here after I finish this one. So what I'm essentially doing is the first thing is saying sci.get, and then let's see what their examples have. So their examples over here has a class called list, and you can use CSS selectors to be able to graph things, which I think is cool. Which includes things like class names, IDs, which is what I'm using. You can be as specific as you would like and just go down as far down into the DOM as you need to go, which I think is pretty cool. I prefer to use the IDs, like I said before, because they're supposed to be very I guess singular. You're only going to be using them once, so you shouldn't really have too many IDs called first names. You should only have one. And then the type method lets me type in things such as over here it says get input and then type hello world. You can be dynamic with it and uh, make it press the enter key for hello world and everything. So there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with it here. So this one will say hello and then press enter. So in my case, I don't want to do that. I want to click on one thing, type in some text, and then click on the next thing, type in some text, and then we can actually see what that's doing. I can just save this right now, and we can see as it's typing everything in over here. So it's going to go on over there, and you can see it typed everything in pretty quickly. And if I click on stuff, I can pin them and all that. I don't know what the pinning really does, but yeah, so it typed everything in there, email@email.com. And now we're getting to some of the cool stuff. So the last thing that I want to type in over here, that's just going to be regular text. It's going to be this code school thing. So code school. And then we're just going to type, let's just type in Lambda school. Okay, so now we're getting to an interesting part. So over here I have an option thing, which once I click this it'll open up, but there you go. I have an option thing, which is going to be a little bit different. And then I also have a calendar thing that pops up. So I have this option thing, I hit yes or no, and then I have this calendar thing that I can pick just about any date that's over here and scroll around and everything. So that's a little bit interesting. So one thing that I had to do with this is instead of using type or anything like that, or I tried to use click before for the selector, and it didn't really do the job. So what I had to do was do a type or sci.get, and then just my usual where I put my ID in there to select it. And then instead of click or anything like that, I just had to use select. And that was one of those things where I didn't really have to look it up. I just like, okay, well, that's a select field, so I'm just going to see if that works. And it actually worked, and that was great. So very intuitive on their part. So we're going to click that and see what happens. I actually don't know what's going to happen over here because I haven't tried this part just to see if it would open up. All right, so it automatically seems to have defaulted to yes over here. So that's basically what happens. So I selected the option yes. I want to see what happens if I select a option that I know doesn't exist. So I'm typing in false, and just to see what happens there. Alright, so it goes all the way through and nothing happens. It's gonna give me an error. So yep. Timed out, retry, size, select failed because it could not find a single option with the value or text matching false. So automatically it's going to fail. So let's just put it back to yes, and you can change that to no because that is the other option that's there, and it should pass. So sci.get. Now I'm going to be selecting the date picker, and this one is also going to be a little bit interesting because it already has a value in there. So if we look at it real quick, it already has a value, and so if I were to grab it and try to put any numbers or anything in it, it would basically double up the input value. So it would get over here and write my new values, kind of prepend the new values, and then it would just add it right next to these old values. So that's not what we want. So what we want to do is use a built-in method, which was another thing that I didn't really have to look up. I just typed it out and saw what happened, but it was just clear. And clear basically does what you think it will. It'll just clear out the field and let me type in new values. So in this case, I just want to type in something that's in the future, so 2019. And then now we can see what it says. Before it says 0825 2019. Now we want to change that. So you see there it's clicking and everything, and then it went from 08, I think it was 5 2019 to 1025 2019. All right. And it cleared out the field first before it did all of that. So the last thing that we want to do is find that sign up button and just click it. So, and this one's going to be very simple. So we're going to see if this page contains a sign up button. Click. And then from there, we're going to want to check that we are in the proper URL, which should include, and then this URL that we're going to be at is prep tracker. So that's pretty much it. Basically, from the beginning to the end, we should be starting off visiting our home page over here in the localhost 3000. And if you have it deployed, then you can go for that deployed link. And then find some random text in there just to make sure that we're in the right location, and then find the sign up button, click on that. It should take us to this sign up URL, and then from there we're finding each individual input and just typing in a value, and then the selector, we're just picking the yes option. The date picker, we're clearing it out and then writing in some new date, and then finding the sign up button, clicking it, and double checking that we're in the proper location. So let's see what happens. All right, and give it a second. There we go. All right, and there we have it. So all of my tests ran over here, and everything's being pretty much telling us what we ran. So we have our visit, contains, click, URL check, get, and then type, get type over and over again, get select, get clear, type, contains, click, URL, assert. So, and you could probably even go in there and write some more asserts, some more should and all that, and get more into it, and just be more testy with it, like check that it's not that the input isn't a number, things like that. Whatever stuff that you want to do to actually test your stuff. I just had a lot of fun just being able to interact with my site like this and see how everything was being tested. And so, yeah, so that's beginning testing with Cypress. I found this to be a very enjoyable experience in testing. Usually I find testing to be extremely overly complicated and difficult, and a lot of it doesn't make sense to me, but this I was able to pick up in probably about 10 minutes or so, and it was really enjoyable and fun to actually write tests for once. So I wanted to share this experience with everybody, and let me know what you guys think. If you have more experience with Cypress and you want to share anything, let me know. All right.